Welcome to Cardboard Pixels Episode 2, the sequel nobody asked for. But we do have huge news from Tony. Tony is a local Hale man who claims to be a time traveller. And who am I to argue with someone as unhinged as Tony? Anyway, he brought news that this podcast is a smash hit and chart-topping, globally adored piece of audio magic in the year 2087. So that's something to look forward to. Meanwhile, coming up on episode 2, we strand voice acting legend Gavin Hammond on a desert island. We talk about the motto, old gamers never say die, and does it ring true? We have a dodgy opinion about Cosy games. We have reviews. We have way too much time on our hands, and we have time-traveling Tony dropping bombs. Without further ado, Neil Young once famously sang the line, "It's better to burn out than to fade away." As a quick opening point, if you are currently scratching your head wondering who the hell Neil Young is, then this podcast might not be for you. Yet. But, in the words of Led Zeppelin, your time is gonna come. Now, if you're currently scratching your head wondering, forget it. I'm guessing veteran rocker Neil Young was referring to calling time on something when your star is burning at its brightest, as opposed to ploughing on until ultimately you become a shadow of your former self. As I said, I'm guessing here, but I'm rolling with it, as Liam Gallagher might say. Kid. Whilst I can see where the line is coming from for the rock stars who walk amongst us, I mean, if I was a multimillionaire by the time I was in my mid-20s, I'd probably fancy pissing off to the burnout sunset myself, where I could while away the days drinking iron brew and eating Doritos, a valuable societal contribution at all times being paramount. However, in everyday life, things are a little different, and in a life lived in gaming, it's entirely different. The burning star seems to never reach its peak. Instead, it just keeps getting more and more intense as every new gaming dawn brings something even brighter than the last.
Wow.
Where the hell am I going with this? Well, I don't know, but we're here now, so let's shuffle forward and see what happens. I am what I would probably describe politely as an experienced gamer. Very experienced. From a time when consoles occasionally came with wood paneling. To the outsider, that similarly aged acquaintance who is oblivious to the vast gaming universe around them, I'm what they might describe as an aren't you a bit old for video games sort of gamer. We will then fight to the death, or until someone cries, or occasionally both. And I have to be honest, the old jibe about being too old is something I'll never understand. I mean, come on, why anyone who can happily reap joy from a couple of hours in front of a big screen movie, lapping up the unfolding action like a parched puppy at a pond on a hot summer's day, can't see the potential joy that is to be had from stepping through the screen into the body of the action hero is beyond me. And that is sort of exactly what this modern age of games allows us players to do. We can leave the comfort of the sofa without actually getting up and live other lives less ordinary. To be honest, we always have enjoyed such an experience. Even when the graphics could never do justice to the imaginations of the creators, we had our own imaginations that could more than compensate. Sometimes we had to turn a wall of adventurous text into dark forests and raging ogres. And we did it. It's probably why we often lose ourselves in daydreams to this day. Probably why we drive places, arrive, and have no idea how the hell we got there. That's a muscular imagination you've got there. A bit dangerous, man. Anyway, why gaming is seen as something to leave behind as age creeps up on us, I'll never know. I was never really any good at the games anyway. My slower reaction speed now just offers a legitimate excuse. And we suffered through some darkness amongst the light. Some games were shit back in the day, but you didn't know that until you dropped 8 weeks pocket money on it and then spent 12 minutes waiting for it to load, just so it could take a huge dump on your crappy definition TV screen. I didn't ride that bus, so hop off now, things are getting good. And I'm a goddamn veteran of the console wars. So back off. Kids talking shit down mics, come on. I've got 6 of my own kids who do that to my face. And then we fight to the death. or until someone cries, or occasionally both. Some people will even tell you we older gamers are cranky and that we go off track and ramble and waffle and occasionally lose track of what we were doing and where we were. What? No, just, look at that seagull. We are blessed with wonderful memories and wonderful memories. Like the old rhyme about bonfire night. Remember, remember, the, don't hold the hot end of the sparkler in November. I am part of a generation that witnessed the birth of the video game. Sadly, we didn't follow a star bearing gifts of gold coins, a 20-sided die, and a packet of top trumps, as Fable suggests, but we did defend the Earth from the dreaded space invaders before a lunch break of blue ghosts and cherries. And I am part of what I expect will one day become the first generation of gaming pensioners. In fact, we're on the cusp, which is depressing. I see a glorious day when our kind will invade the game shops, decked out in tartan slippers, slacks up to our chins and the hint of a Werther's original on our breath, as we seek out the latest escape into rocket-fueled GTA games and reminisce about the golden age when we still used control pads and owned physical consoles instead of these damned microchip brain implants. I'm not sure why I became American. I have no doubt that it's coming. My generation has ridden this wave since it was a barely formed ripple, and we're not ready to wipe out just yet. It is very easy to envy the kids today, born into an industry that puts living, breathing, lifelike worlds at their fingertips, then offers them a global playground of opponents and allies to adventure with, and does it all in eye-watering 4K. It's a wonderful time to embark on your adventure in video games. But equally, there are great joys that many will never know. 4-player split-screen Halo on an old standard TV, anyone? It might not sound too exciting these days, but to those upon the settee with a beer in one hand and a controller in the other, they were glorious nights. Multiplayer to most meant going round to mates with your console and a beverage in hand. The night ahead would always guarantee laughs, fierce competition, and complete loss of the passing of time, and genuine bubbling hatred, until the morning when bridges burned by headshots and sticker grenades were quickly repaired. So many great events have unfolded over the decades that will mean little to younger players, but were defining moments for the older gamer. The Nintendo versus Sega wars, God, the Spectrum versus Commodore wars for that matter, smashing all hell out of a rubber keyboard in a vain attempt to make Daley Thompson run faster, the arrival of Sony and their PlayStation, the early death of Dreamcast, RIP you wonderful unsung machine. Blink's the time sweeper who arrived as the Xbox answer to Mario and was quickly swept away by unconvinced gamers, getting splinters from the Resident Evil voice acting, sensible soccer, a real footy game, real arcades too, Games Master on the telly, and getting all your info from a magazine once a month. It was magical. We already have a lifetime of amazing moments from time spent in an amazing universe, and there is so much more to come. It's a ride I fully intend to take until my arthritic fingers scream, "No more!" and I wear my trousers so high I can no longer see over the top of them. And so, I refuse to burn out or fade away where gaming is concerned. I shall shuffle into brave new worlds and grab the future of games by the throat. Then we shall fight, to the death, or until one of us cries, or occasionally both. Because like the Goonies, old gamers never say die. Goonies reference just to really cement how old I am. This little segment is called You Should Try, and it's where I pick a game that I think you should try. Don't Starve is a masterpiece. A weird, isometric survival horror game with gothic stylings that challenges the player not only to create a life, eat well, and craft wild things, but also demands that that player keep the dark tinges of madness from completely clouding the mind. What's more, it drops you right into the thick of it. No tutorials, no hand-holding, it just wakes you from a slumber and says, crack on then. It's wonderful. From the moment you hurriedly gather flint and sticks and grass and berries and carrots and start to spit out axes and traps and fires, the game takes you on a journey. No, in fact, not a journey. I take journeys to Tesco. No. This is an adventure. As occasionally is Tesco. but we'll leave that for now. Don't Starve is a truly wild ride along the knife edge of sanity, fueled by hunger pains, downpours, lightning, and a collection of creatures and beasties so weird this could be set in town centre. I'm not alienating any potential listeners before we've even found them, but you know where I said. I've poured countless hours into this game, and now, as I type, I'm honestly not sure I can even remember if there's a core plot or goal. I think there is, and I think it has something to do with finding doors to alternate worlds in a bid to track and defeat a dude called Maxwell. But don't quote me on that, seriously don't, because that could all have been some random fever dream, and the mad thing is, it's irrelevant. And the reason for that is that Don't Starve works like a dream without any narrative in play. In fact, if anything, it allows you to create your own narratives. Little stories built from moments such as the first time you killed a tall bird and stole its egg, or that day the trees started chasing you, or the evening the shadows started to hurt you. This is a game where nuggets of gold are scattered about the landscape, both literally and narratively speaking. And all this is before we even talk about the DLC. And now we've gone from world-beating game to conqueror of the survival universe. We have Shipwrecked that shifts the lands from long stretches of wilderness to little islands. Build a boat and you can island hop to your heart's content. Obviously, watch out for the monkeys, and try not to still be paddling across the sea as the sun dips and panic sets in. And we have Reign of Giants, where some seriously big beasts roam the land and we regularly fill our shorts. But we get to do so in new biomes in front of new creatures. Or Hamlet, the village of pigs and their quirky, slightly irritating ways. Such a cool addition though. Visiting buildings, trading, causing occasional chaos and getting a good old chase from the armoured pig guards. Or sometimes going completely off the rails and burning the whole village down as pigs run in every direction screaming and crying. We all do that. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need any of this DLC to enjoy the game, as the base version is still solid gold. Now the creatures. Oh, the creatures.
We've got beefalo and mandrakes and spiders. We've got ghosties and tree guards and pigs. You want tentacles? We've got plenty. And what's more, just you see, some are big.
The reasons to love Don't Starve are numerous. A big one is the feelings of accomplishment and progression you get by achieving simple little tasks or crafting new items or watching the night become dawn on a new day, knowing you're doing okay. The base is a little sideways, the food supplies are dwindling, and the sanity is sketchy. But otherwise, we're good. Dropping a great array of characters to play as, each with their own quirks and abilities, such as the lumberjack Woody who, if you cut down too many trees in quick succession, turns into a ravenous beaver. I've known a few Woodies in my time and it's kind of par for the course. And I mean, there are so many characters.
You know where this is going. We've got Wilson and Willow and Wolfgang. We've got Wendy and Woody and Wes. You want a spider? We've got Webber. And what's more, just you see, we've got Les.
Oh wait, no, we haven't got Les. There is no Les. Basically, this game sits in my top 10 of all time. I will happily play it at any time. It's joyful, chaotic, scary, creative, and it has permadeath. Oh, didn't I mention permadeath? If you thought the beasties were scary before, try facing them with that knowledge on board when you're on day 99 and it suddenly all goes south. But you know what? It's just another reason to love the game. And by golly, I think I do. Check out Don't Starve, because you probably won't regret it. The following edition of Desert Island Gamer was recorded in 2020. With me upon the island is voice actor extraordinaire Gavin Hammond. Welcome, sir.
Hello, thank you for having me. How are you?
Absolute pleasure. I am very well. Yourself?
I can't complain.
You're in an incredible room. I know people can't see this on the podcast.
Thank you.
I have to mention because it blew me away. It is an absolute myriad of collectibles, a drum kit. It's stunning.
It's a lot of stuff. I'm old, so I've been hanging on to things for a long time.
Your resume is absolutely ridiculous. You've been Ninja Turtle, you're in Oxenfree, which I absolutely adore. The Wolf Among Us, absolute gem of a game. And Telltale's Walking Dead. You play Kenny, and for me, the greatest game ever made. And I've played some games in my time.
Yeah, and I think that it was the first time for a lot of us to be in a game that had such pronounced narrative, especially without mocap. And, when we started working on it, it was probably like 2010. So, there was like Uncharted and stuff like that and Mass Effect. And there were games that definitely had narrative structure like that, but that didn't necessarily cover such a range of horror like we did.
Yeah, it just felt so different, just so heart-wrenching.
Jake and Sean and all of the writers that worked on it and the directors and Jory Prum and Julian Kwasniewski, did such a great job getting emotional performances and writing emotional material and kind of putting it all together that it was really a huge honor to be a part of it and to just be included, because we really didn't know what it was going to be. We just kind of, went in there and it was like, sure. Telltale was doing Sam & Max at the time. And I think all of us had worked on CSI or Law and Order or something like that for them. But once they really started moving into that particular license, it really took off. And
when you hold a script like that, can you immediately tell this is something special?
From the beginning, it was clear that it was really different. Dave Fennoy talks a lot about, a video game script has grenade or moving that way or all that sort of stuff. And it still do, so you still see a lot of those movement lines or lines that are associated with actions in the game. Whereas this was basically the first packet was almost all of the scenes within the first episode, so it was the introduction of Kenny, at least in my packet, his introduction, maybe some of the Salt Lick stuff, some of the high intensity stuff with Larry. So things that kind of were sprinkled throughout, the first couple, and things that ended up getting tweaked and put in later in the season. So it was a pretty good range. Back then, their audition packets would be, 8 or 9 pages, not necessarily of all material, but there would be at least 2 pages worth of specs and breakdown of the character, and then there would be the sides, which are the lines, and we go through the whole thing and you could just tell it was different.
One thing that I'm really curious about, if you get a terrible film but with a great performance in there, most people will sit and watch the film to the end and appreciate a terrible film, but that performance, that was great. With a game, a great performance or great narrative can get lost or missed because it's built on poor gameplay. In your experience, have you ever known that to be the case?
I think so, because it's so dependent upon the game. It's I would say I'm much more likely to finish a game with bad VO in it because I enjoy the game mechanics or enjoy the game. I'm a lot less likely to finish a bad game with great VO because it's I'm not going to sit here for another 60 hours and get through this thing. It's not good. So definitely, I think that's the case. You're much more likely to quit a game early, despite a performance. I've been playing games since the 70s, so for me, it's voice in video games is still kind of new.
Is there a community within the voice acting world, like a family, or is it all backstabbing, bitching, like a family as well? But
they're beautiful. It's so different than, because I also come from a music background. I was in a band in the 1990s and toured all over the world and whatnot. And that's more of there's definitely your cliques and there's sort of your weird relationships, but voice acting and VO in general, there's always exceptions.
Yeah.
By and large, everybody's super cool. And everybody gets along really well. I'm very close to most of the cast of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Especially, Omid, Katya, Clem. They're good friends, and it's and people that, record as well. It's we generally are kind of kindred spirits.
That's really disappointing. I was hoping to be all why did he get that role? I could have done that role.
But that has a lot more to do with the people that hire us than us.
Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
You never know how hard something is until you try it. And I found that to be supremely true throughout my life. If I try something, generally, it's much, much easier than I thought it was going to be. You never know until you try. Don't try, and if you don't put effort into, whatever it is you want to do, you'll never know.
You'll never have a tremendous collection of incredible memorabilia and a drum kit.
None of this was from trying. This was all just from being in a place at a time, or having access to the internet.
your gaming history?
Yeah. So we had Pong. Which was prior to the Atari 2600. My dad was always like a total gamer head, even though the things didn't exist. He used to play that little Mattel handheld football that was just like dashes that would go down across the screen. He used to play that thing until 9-volt batteries died. So there were always gaming consoles in my house from the time I was a kid. He had a 2600, and then we had Intellivision, ColecoVision, Vectrex. He was always wanting to have gaming systems. So, and I still have most of them. So yeah, I've always been a console guy. I played PC games for a little bit, and that was mostly World of Warcraft, which I played for 7 years, and almost lost my wife.
I've always been scared to play it because I've heard similar stories.
It was so bad, like in the early 2000s too, because it was like you needed 60 people to mount a raid. So you had 60 people. You had like I don't even remember what it was. Maybe it wasn't 60. Maybe it was 40. No, it was a 40-man raid. See, I'm totally creating it because I'm like 8 groups of 5, 60. No. So yeah, like 40 people you would have to actually have on at the same time with compatible internet. I mean, it's like a technological marvel that it worked.
Yeah. Can you remember the sort of longest session you put in on World of Warcraft?
Oh yeah, I'm sure there were days when I played probably all day long. Like probably 12 or so hours straight.
Amazing.
Depends on where I was and what I had to do and whether or not I had kids.
But I have heard it is one of them games that does get cited in divorce papers.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Game number 1, Gavin.
Number 1, and it's going to cover a lot of bases for me, is going to be Diablo 3 because I love a hack and slash.
Yep.
I loved World of Warcraft, which is not dissimilar, same developer, obviously. I love Blizzard. They're probably my very favorite developer ever. And I could replay that over and over and over and over and over again. So that would be my first game to take to a desert island.
It's a good game.
I mean, I played all of Diablo. I played the first one. I played all of the second one, all of the expansions for them. I'm a Diablo guy.
Game 2.
Probably just in order to satisfy my need for first-person shooters, I'm going to choose Destiny. And I'd probably choose the first one rather than Destiny 2. I do love Destiny 2, and I still play it all the time. But I'm going to go with the first one just for nostalgia's sake. And it's a great Bungie, I think, makes the best first-person shooters around. So I love that. Sci-fi and monsters. I want to kill people. The raid mechanics were super cool. Raids felt like raids, and there were only 6 people. Just the problem I think they ran into with Destiny 2 was the Activision factor. Yeah. But I mean, they corrected a lot of things that, they had changed that made it less fun. And I think it's tremendously fun to play. Check it out. Good shooter.
Game 3.
Probably Breath of the Wild, because it'll satisfy like a long RPG. I would choose like Wind Waker or something, but I've played through that so many times that I still feel like Breath of the Wild would have things to offer where I would find whatever the little guys you'd find under the rocks and stuff. I know I haven't found all of those. I forget. The shrines, I could replay shrines over and over.
I feel like I need to begin to play more Zelda games.
I mean, Breath of the Wild is just a masterpiece of, like third-person RPG.
Yeah. I've only ever played the Super Nintendo one.
Oh, yeah.
Which
They're
is
fun too.
Yeah, and I told someone and they made an audible gasp that I'd only played one Zelda game. All good choices, but you do have to pick one. It doesn't have to be terrible, but one game to go on the fire.
I'm gonna try to think of like the biggest time suck of a game that would burn for the longest, because I would equate like the amount of hours that you would have to put into the game, how long it would
get
burn.
A collector's edition, which that'll burn for days.
I don't want to like offend anybody just because this does not necessarily mean that I don't enjoy the game.
Yes,
but I'm gonna go with one of the old like forced third person perspective Fallout, like the first Fallout back on it was on PC or whatever.
Yeah. Before Fallout 90s, was the Fallout we know.
Yeah, before it was the Bethesda thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that because it was turn-based, so it was really a very slow, plugging along kind of game. It was fun. Yeah. Also came in a bigger box because it was like a PC game. So
it'll burn for a little bit longer, of course. Yeah.
That'd be the one. And it's also pretty good, so it's like I could play it for a while before I needed to burn it. I wouldn't have to burn it right away.
You can't bend the rules. You can't. And it's funny, I suppose, how that's where we know Fallout Fallout today. This massive, ridiculous open world that's kind of jaw-dropping. So yeah, it's a good choice. Burning the roots it came from.
I worked on some games that could use some burning. I remember one that I worked on, and I could probably say what it was. But when I went to record it, they told me that it was like, this was the worst game we had ever seen, so we're localizing it.
Wow.
And it was called Escape from Bug Island.
Is this still available?
I don't know. I'm sure it's on YouTube. But this was, early 2000s, 2006 or 7 or something. Not good. And I was in it. There's some bad stuff.
A gaming character, companion.
I would take Ghost from Destiny because he could resurrect me. And for a while, he had the voice of Peter Dinklage. Now he has the voice of Nolan North, and that's fine. But I would take the Peter Dinklage Ghost with me just so I could listen to him talk about the moon. And he could resurrect me and then, help me get to other planets and whatnot. Open doors for me. It'd be very good.
What a tremendous choice. Were there any games you would say you would have almost taken?
Almost taken to the island? Yeah, there's a million of them.
Yeah.
I love Twisted Metal. I love good driving games. I loved Ridge Racer, especially I think it was Ridge Racer on the PSP. Daytona on the Sega.
Yeah.
That was really, really fun. That'd be a good one. Panzer Dragon. That would totally be up there just because it was the first 3D running sort of game that I remember really being wowed by. There's all kinds of games I would bring.
There's so many. There's so many moments where I'm sure both of us thought, this is the peak. This is the pinnacle of gaming. It can't get any better than this. And then a year later, they just wow, what's happening?
I don't even remember what that game was called.
Yeah. Oh, forget that game. We've moved on. That brings your time on the island to an end.
Oh, you just mean you're leaving me on the island now.
Exactly. But you've got the voice of Peter Dinklage. You've got a retro Fallout game burning. But no, it's been honestly a total, genuine pleasure to talk to you. From the desert island, from myself, goodbye. And thank you, Gavin. Till next time.
Thanks for having me.
Remember the video game Firewatch? Of course you do. It was a sumptuous romp through a mysterious tale with an underwhelming ending, subjectively speaking. But what it lacked in closure, it made up for in heart. It was, and likely still is, a game that had big hug vibes, a cozy exterior, and likeable characters. Well, the board game Fire Tower is not that. Not unless the characters in Firewatch have been replaced with the Roy family from Succession. If you haven't seen Succession, then why not? It's great. Fire Tower shares some common ground with Firewatch. Players are working from an actual fire tower, and they do have the means to occasionally extinguish the flames in a bid to save the day. Yet, there's this one thing that sets the two fiery forestry games apart. In Fire Tower, the ultimate goal is to burn your opponents to ash. Bit different, right? Which I'm sure must go against some rule or other in the beginner's guide to working in a Fire Tower handbook. Please don't murder other members of the firewatching team. That'd be at least a written warning. But this is the core of Fire Tower, and honestly, it's a gloriously, devilishly delicious slice of smackdown pie. Unless you're on the receiving end, then it's sort of mean-spirited and unfair. Funny though for everyone else. Let's spark some flames. The basics of play see players taking turns to affect how the fire moves through the forest. On their turn, the first action each player must take is to add to the already burning fire in the forest. Now again, that seems to be a move that goes against everything the Fire Lookout motto tells us. If you see a fire, don't play silly games, get a hose, turn the tap and spray it on the flames. That's probably about right. But no, in Fire Tower we are empathetic and motivational and actively encourage the fire to burn baby burn. We're the fire starters. Slightly twisted fire starters. The fire placement always goes with the wind direction unless specific cards are being played that we'll talk about later. The fire token, which is a very nice looking misshapen orange gem, is placed, and then the tactical side of things comes to the table. Here the player can play a card from their hand to affect the blaze. This might be a water card that will extinguish flames in an area. It might be to play a fire break, which is a token that the flames cannot pass through, and a handy line of defense. Or maybe it'll be to play for something like the explosion that sends flames in all directions from a chosen spot, or even a card that changes the wind direction, ideal for those moments you find your eyebrows singed. And that is the basic way the game plays. Add to the fire, then act for your own benefit. The ultimate goal is to burn down opposing fire towers. Quite why these towers are in opposition is a little hazy, but let's just presume that this intake of fire spotters were all raving lunatics. Now, there are other special cards shuffled into the deck that affect the entire board. Firestorm means a fire token is placed at every single token already in play in the wind direction. And there's Mutual Aid that offers some collaborative play, and honestly, as we're a bunch of kill 'em all meme players, we left that card out. It is optional. Oh, buckets! Yes, before I forget, every player has a single-use bucket that can extinguish a few flames when they enter the squared grid corner that your own tower sits in. Once used, flip it and it becomes Reckless Abandon, where you can start playing 2 fire gems and slowly lose your mind. The game is a really toasty bit of quick-fire board gaming goodness, and if you have the taste for a bit of take that and watch them burn action, then this is a great fit. It can also get hectic quickly, offering light strategy and lots of laughs. One thing I must note, and this might have just been us, but when the wind blows in a certain way at the opening of the game and the fire starts its hot run towards specific towers, it's kind of common for other players to seize this opportunity and pile on against the single player. The targeted player faces a monumental task to stop the fire from reaching them, no matter how hard they blow, which probably just makes the flames bigger anyway, right? But this was particularly evident in the 4-player games that we played. However, when that player is burned early doors, relax. They get to be the Shadow of the Forest, a mystical, slightly charred creature whose objective is now to burn down everyone else by rolling dice, following the actions on a special card. Yay! There can be up to 2 shadows in play for a 4-player game. As a fan of fiercely competitive games that take little time to learn and offer wonderful opportunities for mockery of all other players in good humour, I add, then Fire Tower does its thing. A game might last for 20 to 30 minutes depending on player counts, and it's a simple setup and takedown, and the board and components both have a woody and fiery quality, which is nice in the game and in an aftershave. It's also a good one for families, as there is no real age barrier with such a simple rule set, and meaner kids will adore it. Downsides, and there are one or two. After a few plays, the game can feel a little samey, with there not being a huge range of strategic options open to players, other than trying to shift flame direction, put a few out, or scream, "Why are you targeting me again?" And if you don't like games with a mean streak, it might not sit quite right. But thankfully, I love them. Our plays were laughter-filled, smackdown-fueled half hours of opponent toasting delight. Oh, I should talk looks. The artwork is actually kind of cool, which for a game about fire is no mean feat. Kevin Ruel? I'm going to go with Ruel. Kevin Ruel has tapped into a rustic vibe for the cards and board that feels beautifully in tune with the theme. Fire Tower has been created by Gwen Ruel and Sam Bryant, and one day I promise I will start reading up on game designers and show them the respect they deserve. And Gwen and Sam deserve huge amounts of it because they've created something that brought a lot of fun to my table. And that hasn't happened since I last brought a family pack of Krispy Kreme donuts home when my family were out. It's quick fire, it's slow fire, it's lots of fire. If that sparks something in you, then light up your gaming and blaze a path to glory with Fire Tower. Too many fire-related bits there? I think so. You know how we all love cozy games now, right?
No.
Like, they drop a game called Fortnite today, and it's about 2 weeks where nobody calls round. We've got to sort a load of aging books into some sort of order. There are a couple of cats kicking back on a beanbag, and it's autumn. Cozy has become the new cool. It could be on the back of the world going increasingly nuts, but that discussion is for another far more grown-up podcast that doesn't involve me. Regardless, cozy games are hot. And honestly, I'm here for it. I have a very pronounced cozy gene. It's kind of like Spidey sense, but I have no control and my reaction is largely a primal thing. So nothing like Spidey sense at all, really. But when it fires, it goes big. For example, if I'm in a tent and it starts battering down with rain, I might let out an involuntary whoop of unbridled joy and break out into a quick chicken dance. You might have heard me. Chicken dancing will become something of a theme for my own podcast ramblings. But I have come here today, well, not here like where you are, but I did sit down in front of my computer and open Google Docs. I sense you might already be regretting that too. But we're here now, aren't we? And it's not like you can just press stop on the podcast. What? Can they? Is it not piped in? Well, as we're here, hear me out. There seems to be a trend in getting cozy wrong. When I think cozy, I'm generally not working in a little shop from dawn to dusk, serving a bunch of entitled townsfolk with, insert usual suspects here, books, coffee, homemade food, flowers, books and coffee. Or trying to integrate into an island home full of talking animals, or finding my place in a community of kind of weird, needy locals. In fact, in my cozy paradise, I'm not interacting with anybody outside the confines of my house. Now, I almost immediately realised whilst writing that I adore the game Coffee Talk, where you serve coffee to a bunch of angsty fantasy folk who love to share their woes. And they have many woes. However, the only reason that game is cozy, and it is that it's permanently pissing down with rain outside. Every day, through that big window, raindrops fall and it soaks me in an inner joy and feelings of well-being. The sun comes out, and that game's cozy vibes die a death under a patchwork quilt, hand-knitted probably by some twee elven character, under the arms of a towering oak in a game posing as cozy. I do get it though. It's an escape from real life. There's no real threat, but there is discovery and curiosity. It's just not that cozy. I'm also acutely aware of how the hugely subjective nature of this rambling, semi-rant against something as pure as the cozy game genre might make me seem a little unhinged. However, my hinges are perfectly hinged, and there is some form of rationale to my ramble. You see, I have certain requirements for a game to be considered cozy. Example 1. The weather. Ideally rain, but snow can also do its thing. Picture this. In Battlefield Bad Company 2, that's an older game, there is a mission where you are running and gunning down a mountainside in freezing blizzard-esque conditions. The screen begins to show specks of frost and ice as the elements get to you. Too much and it's game over. But then you find a little shelter with a little fire burning. And my God, it was so cozy. I almost felt the glow and warmth from those digital flames. That is cozy. This game is a kill 'em all gunfest from start to finish, but all I remember from it is that cozy little jaunt down the mountain. Then we have Gears of War, Downpour. The rain glistening under light as it falls, the mission, the team, the rain again. That again was so damn cozy. Forget the imminent ever-present threat of death. It's raining, and we're all in it together like a big bunch of cozy teddy bears. Lovely. Don't Starve too, that knows the drill. Come rain or snow, there is nothing quite like getting that big old fire blazing and seeing the night out in the welcome of its flickering arms. Not literally, you'd burn to death, but for the soul, that moment is a little slice of delicate beauty where a few carrots are roasted and the night is kept at bay. The second thing I tend to go for a cozy vibe is being safe from harm in a dangerous game. Dying light when the night falls. Darkness casts a blanket, the dead roam the streets, the serious threats come out to play. But if you've got yourself indoors in a neat little safe house, you can sit back and listen to the night do its thing, all whilst being cocooned in an impenetrable blanket of whoop whoop joy like it's raining on a tent. Again, a great game, but this was my highlight, which I know is super weird. Example 3 is still being in harm's way, but in a damn cozy place. Dredge, I'm looking at you. That bobbing little boat, the lamplight cut in the dark, the tiny cabin offering scant protection from big tentacled things. But wow, it's cozy. For the board gamers, Deep Regrets offers a similar level of Ready Brek Glow gameplay. Ready Brek Glow, is that still a thing though, yeah? I mean, it's 80s, but people know about the Ready Brek Glow. It's quite hard to say that. Anyway, there are other contenders too. Minecraft is littered with moments to warm the soul. Or a game with a lighthouse. I can't think of any right now, but yeah, that'd work a treat. That snowstorm at the opening of Red Dead 2. The Gillies in the Mist level from Modern Warfare 2. That camaraderie and sneak into the sniper spot is a terrifying, edgy bit of absolute coziness. Cosy doesn't need me to work in a shop, nor does it ask me to integrate into a community. It doesn't demand I love books, cats, coffee, or farming. I do, but they don't make me cozy. The actual routine of these games often makes me fidgety and restless. Are they the same thing? Fidgety and restless? Anyway, cozy is getting through the hatch of your base in Subnautica and closing it. Cozy is lighting a fire in the long dark. It's often moments in a game filled with bigger moments and themes that are anything but cozy. It doesn't have to be the package. It really doesn't need cats. We can keep the coffee. What do you think? Where do you get your cozy fix? Do you even chase one? And am I basically just a sucker for a game with a bit of rain in it? I guess we'll never know. But I've just looked out the window and it looks like rain. So I'm off to sit in a tent and whoop.
Wow!
Thank you for listening to Cardboard Pixels, a magazine-style podcast for nerd hearts everywhere. Yep, even you. It does truly mean a lot to us, and we hope you can lend us your ears again for episode 3. Until then, cheers!